Welcome, lords and ladies, back to the realm. I am your humble host, the Goat King, and today we have the Starfinder 2nd Edition playtest rules. Patras are a humanoid feline species from a nearby star system. They're highly competitive and are known for their achievements in magic, music, and war. Their homeworld was recently freed from occupation by the Veskarium, and they've joined the Pact Worlds. 8 hit points, medium, 25 feet. Very cute art. I assume this one is not medium. I assume this one is small. Maybe a heritage. And let's look at their heritages. And for the Patra, the homeworld is in the Vesk home system. I'm curious what's going to be. I'm sure there will be plenty of differences between Patra and the Catfolk of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, especially since both of them will be playable in Starfinder. The Catfolk have luck and fortune-based things, so I'm curious to see what they do with the Patra to differentiate them, because they are also cat people. Let's see, their heritages. Hunter-Stalker. You descended from a long line of hunters, and your fur is especially well-suited to blending into multiple environments. As long as you're in a natural and underdeveloped environment, you gain a +2 to stealth checks to hide, sneak, survival checks to subsist, and survival DC to cover tracks. Krevesh Patra. You or your ancestors chose to endure experimental bioengineering to fight the Veskarium. Choose a first-level biotech augmentation. The selected augmentation is permanently part of your body and does not count against your maximum number of augmentations. You don't pay the cost for this augmentation, and you can swap out this bonus augmentation by paying the appropriate cost for a new augmentation at any time. Male's Chosen Patra. You have an undeniable streak of luck that you believe is blessing you from your ancestral god, Male. You may come from a long line of mystics, be born at a holy site on Pelonis, or simply have reached out in fervent prayer at a time of crisis. Most of Males Chosen can point to at least one past event when their goddess might have intervened to save them from death or some other awful fate. Whether metaphorically or literally, you always seem to land on your feet. The first time each day that you critically fail a saving throw, you immediately re-roll the saving throw as a free action. This is a fortune effect. Pouncer Patra. You excel in the war games of your youth, and you've trained hard to maintain your athletic ability, even on worlds where higher gravity makes such feats more tiring. You have lean and long legs that let you run exceptionally fast, and a large tail that acts as a rudder to maintain your balance during sharp turns. Your speed increases by 5 feet. In addition, you don't automatically fail your checks to high jump or long jump if you don't stride at least 10 feet first. Sand Roamer Patra. Your ancestors roamed blasted terrain leached of vital nutrients by the Veskarium. You are shorter and stockier than most Patras, with wide tufted ears and fur-covered paw pads. Your size is small instead of medium. You ignore difficult terrain and uneven ground caused by sand. In addition, environmental heat effects are one step less extreme for you, and you can go 10 times as long as normal before you're affected by starvation or thirst. What? 10 times? Wowzers. Jeez. Okay. That's quite a bonus. And it's nice. Rime Walker Patra. You've adapted to cold environments with a multi-layer fluffy fur coat and extra body fat. You may be descendant of ancient Patras who dwelled on Pelonis long before the Veskarium's exploitation changed its climate, or you may have unlocked this genetic potential through bioengineering. You gain cold resistance equal to half your level. You treat environmental cold as one step less extreme. Sense Magic's Song. Trained in Arcana, Nature, Occultism, or Religion as your prerequisite, you hear the thrum of magic as if it were a swirling, shifting melody, a harmonic chord, or a percussive beat, pulsing in tune with your heart. You can detect the presence of magic as though you were always using the first rank Detect Magic spell. This detects magic within a 30-foot emanation. At 13th level, the Detect Magic increases to 3rd rank, and at 17th level, it increases to 4th rank. For their 17th level feats, the first one is uncommon, Dirge for the Fallen. You perform a mournful dirge tinged with supernatural grief that compels the dead to rise and the wounded to heal. You can cast the Resurrect ritual once per year as the primary caster using Performance for the check. Electromagnetic Mastery. You have learned how to hone your whiskers to their maximum potential. Your electromagnetic sense becomes a precise sense with a range of 15 feet. This is the end of a chain of 3 feats that make your whiskers progressively more sensitive. Now, moving on to the Skittermander, the, I think, unofficial mascot of Starfinder. Though they might, I think they're still the unofficial mascot, but, let's see. Skittermanders are excitable, 6-armed humanoids with brightly colored fur driven by an insatiable desire to help those around them. They perform countless acts of kindness with a chaotic enthusiasm that borders on manic. So 6-armed goblins, but helpful instead of destructive. And, golly, this particular Skittermander is very bright. Okay, 6 hit points. They are small, 25-foot speed, low light vision, over-eager enthusiasm. You are often oblivious in your enthusiasm to help others. You take a -1 circumstance penalty to perception checks to sense motive, and a -1 circumstance penalty to will saves against emotion effects, except the calm spell. So you're not really good at reading people, or even resisting emotional magic, unless they're specifically trying to calm you down, which is particularly difficult. 6-armed. You have 6 arms, which allows you to wield and hold up to 6 hands worth of weapons and equipment. At any time, 1 pair of hands is designated as your active hands. You can change this designation from 1 pair of hands to another by taking the Switch Active Hands action, which is a single action. You can only perform actions with your active hands, and for more information, page 172, which we'll get to probably in a later video. Let's take a look at their heritages. Everwhelp. Oh, Everwhelp. Despite being a fully grown adult, you've retained your stomach mouth, either through a quirk of evolution, purposeful genetic manipulation, or a biotech augmentation. You gain a Jaws unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage, is in the Brawling group, and has the Finesse, Skittermander, and Unarmed traits. If you're not aware, when Skittermanders are whelps or children, they have like a hole with like a tentacle that comes out, and it's got like a mouth on it. And these ones, the Everwhelp Skittermanders just retain that. Gadrovich Skittermander? Gadrovich? I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but Gadrovich. You grew up in the subterranean realm of Gadrovich, or a similar, dangerous, underground environment. You have wispy, pale-colored fur, a slender build, and overlarge eyes. You gain dark vision. Scrabbler Skittermander. You never mastered coordinating all 6 of your arms for manual manipulation, instead using the lower 2 of these limbs for extra mobility. You have 4 arms rather than 6, and 4 legs rather than 2. You gain a climb speed equal to your base land speed. Skitter Raised. You've spent most of your life in a tight-knit community where teamwork is expected and crowds are just giant group hugs. You gain the Group Impression skill feat. In addition, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to checks to aid an ally at a skill that doesn't have the attack trait. So those are their heritages. Let's see what interesting feats they have. That's interesting. Rebels Scrutiny, level 5. You've come to realize that your people are being taken advantage of, and have refined your collaboration instinct in response, developing a keener eye towards power dynamics and injustice, and training yourself to help only those who deserve it. Ignore all penalties from the Overeager Enthusiasm ability. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to perception checks to sense motive, and a +1 circumstance bonus to deception checks to create a diversion and lie. Now, I can't think of any off the top of my head. There probably are some, but I can't think of any other ancestry feats in the 2E ecosystem that specifically are there to cancel an ancestry flaw. So just in that, this is an interesting feat, and you would think that like the +1 circumstance to these couple specific things would be pretty weak, but given that it is also canceling a -1 circumstance that you previously had, that's like, this is pretty good. It's a pretty good feat, I think. It's kind of pulling double duty. So secrete numbing saliva for the Everwhelp Skittermander heritage once per hour. When you make a successful strike with your stomach mouth, you get to apply this injury poison to your enemies. 4-2 save, max duration 6 rounds. Clumsy 1, and suppressed. Suppressed is a new condition, which I'll have to look at. I don't quite remember what it does. I think it might be a penalty to attacks. It's been a while since I read the field test that had suppressed in it. And then stage 3 is clumsy 2 and suppressed. Okay, hold up. I didn't cover this before. I kind of skipped over because I'm like, oh, just a simple speed bonus. Hyper, level 1, 5-foot land speed bonus. Cool. That moves on, can get upgraded at 9th level to Unleash Energy, once, single action, once per day. Unleash your pent-up energy in a burst of speed and flurry of unpredictable motion. You stride and gain the quickened condition for 3 rounds. You can only use this extra action each round to stride. Okay, so now you're faster, even. And then that gets bumped again at level 13 to supersonic speed. When push comes to shove, you move incredibly fast, becoming a colorful blur of erratic motion. When you stride while quickened from Unleash Energy, you gain concealment until your next turn. So you're moving, you're literally a blur. There's another one. This doesn't upgrade supersonic speed, it's another upgrade for Unleash Energy at 17. Your wells of energy are unending, and your exuberance can't be contained. You can use Unleash Energy once every hour rather than once per day. That's pretty cool. All 6, single action, once per day, level 17. You are not holding any items except in your active hands. You put in your best effort, focusing everything you've got on the task at hand, and putting all 6 of your hands, 3 of your sets of arms, into it. The next time you roll an attack roll or skill check, roll it 3 times and use the highest result. It is a fortune effect, but this is basically double fortune, and fortune is very often you just re-roll and then you keep the new roll. This is you roll 3 times and you pick the best. That's pretty cool. That's legitimately pretty cool. And now we move on to the Vesk. Vesk are a warmongering reptilian people who conquered the 8 worlds in their solar system shortly after they developed spaceflight, forming the Veskarium Empire. Vesk tend to embrace conflict and respect strength and military might. Fair enough. I will make one just nitpick. Anywho, we'll get back to the Vesk. 10 hit points, very reasonable. Very stocky. 20-foot speed, a little slow. Low light vision. I do like this art. This art's very nice. The sash. I don't know. This armor looks cool. That gun looks cool. Anywho, let's check out their heritages. Risk Wander, Vesk. You come from a line of Vesk who are constantly on the move. Your speed increases by 5 feet. Okay. Night Stalker, Vesk. You've adapted to live your life in darkness, perhaps due to living underground, in poorly lit starship corridors, under smoke-shrouded skies, or on a planet far from its sun. You gain dark vision. Plated Vesk. Your ancestors were the hardiest specimens of Vesk, having traveled far and wide while enduring hostile environments. Your scales count as medium armor in the plate armor group that grant a +4 item bonus to armor class, a dex cap of +1, a check penalty of -2, and a strength threshold of +3, and has the comfort trait. You can wear a flight suit, but you can't wear other armor. You can etch armor runes into your scales, but you can't install armor upgrades. Okay, etching armor runes. So that suggests that, at least for built-in armor, runes are still a thing. I believe in one of the field tests, only archaic weapons could use runes. It might be analog weapons too. We'll see when we get to equipment, and probably not this video, but when we get to equipment, we'll take a look at that. Venom Thought Vesk. You are one of the notable Vesk born with psychic talents. According to folklore, your lineage originated with an ancient cave-dwelling society on Vesk Prime who modified themselves with occult rituals, gaining venomous thoughts that could manifest in any future progeny. You can cast Daze as an occult innate cantrip at will. A cantrip is heightened to a spell rank equal to half your level rounded up. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to occultism checks to recall knowledge about psychic traditions and philosophies. And finally, we have Warblood Vesk. You come from a bloodline of renowned warriors who have honed their bodies over centuries to become lethal weapons. You gain the Brutal Anatomy Ancestry feat twice. Well, let's go take a look at that Ancestry feat, why don't we? You are a natural predator and have trained to use part of your body as a weapon. When you select this feat, you gain one of the following unarmed attacks of your choice: Jaws, Claw, or Tail. Each of these attacks is in the Brawling Weapon group. Each of them does d6, but you're picking between slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning. Claws, Agile, Finesse, and Unarmed, and Vesk. Jaws are Grapple and Unarmed and Vesk. And the Tail is Sweep, Trip, and Unarmed and Vesk. At 5th level, whenever you get a critical hit with one of these attacks, you get its critical specialization effect. And special, you can take this feat 3 times. Each time you do, select a different attack from the options listed above. So that Ancestry just takes 2 of these natural attacks pretty much immediately. You just gain 2 of them, which is pretty cool. Okay, here we are. At 5th level, there is Blood Sense, which just gives you a imprecise blood sense with a range of 30 feet, which detects creatures that have blood and aren't at full hit points. Cool. Okay, Eager Combatant at 9th level. You roll Athletics or Intimidation for initiative. That's the trigger for this free action, where you eagerly stride into battle, giving no thought to the consequences. You stride in a straight line directly towards an enemy. So, when everybody rolls initiative, you just immediately stride. Okay, here we are. So, Overcome Shame, 13th level, once per 10 minutes, triggered when you critically fail a melee or ranged strike against an enemy, and it is a free action. You clear your mind of distractions and focus on your foe, determined to overcome the shame of your dishonorable failure, lest it forever blemish your reputation. The next time you attempt to strike the triggering creature before the end of your turn, using the same weapon you used for the triggering strike, you roll the attack roll twice and use the higher result. If the attack roll fails, you become overwhelmed with shame, gaining the off-guard condition until the end of your next turn. That's cool. It gives you a way to essentially get around the multiple attack penalty for your second attack, if your first attack failed. I wouldn't use this, personally, with my third attack, because the penalty is so big, and I don't want to get the off-guard condition. But, I mean, you are rolling 2 dice and taking the better. So, you could use this to crit fish, if you don't mind being off-guard for a turn and a half, you know. At 7th level, you can make that blood sense a precise sense with a range of 60 feet. Hoi. Oh, hold on. Your ability to detect the bloodied wounds of others improves as you seek out wounded foes. Blood sense becomes a precise sense with a range of 60 feet against any target with persistent bleed damage. Okay, so it's not just a flat upgrade to the sense, they have to have persistent bleed damage, but there's also a whole string of feats here, starting with, let's see, starting with Bathed in Blood. That's all built around giving your enemies persistent bleeding damage and improving it and keeping it on them. So that's pretty cool. Thank you again for visiting the realm. I have been your humble host, the Go King, and as always, travel with loyal companions.